Hello, everyone, once more, and welcome to our Business Without Anxiety show. Welcome once more, Coach Inayat Kanji. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Just returned from a nice gym and spa session, so I'm glowing
Look
energetically.
at look at that, amazing. Welcome to our session where we talk about business and anxiety and things that people are shy to talk about, but they are so crucial these days. And we think that if we keep on sharing about this, it becomes a common topic, it becomes a diminished problem instead of bottling it up or trying to be too brave and trying to face it alone. Remember, we are not alone, and nearly every one of us faces it. Being human is part of it. Every week we look at different topics. Mostly these are suggested by our audiences. Our lovely audiences keep on sending questions, comments, and we pick some topics and talk on it and try to answer questions without naming names so that people are feeling safe to ask questions. In fact, this week we have got the request to talk a little bit more about monumental prism. It is something that Step It Up and Mindly we have created it internally. And today we are going to share about that. And I'll tell you why I started with that concept and a bit more about it. Does that sound like a good idea, Coach Kanji?
I think that's a very good idea. I'm intrigued myself as to the information you're going to detail. So yeah, go on.
Awesome. So, see, these days, the amount of material available on coaching yourself and guiding yourself is humongous. Everywhere you see some advice or the other. Everybody knows what to do in a way, information wise. But what I have been seeing over the last 10 plus years, many times, especially smart people, especially people who are putting effort into building their businesses and so forth, they're balancing either their business or to some extent their family or to some extent themselves. But it was something, not all three are being managed. In fact, the maximum I have seen is two in most cases. And there were two stories I will share. One of them where I was in the gym working out, and I came to watch my kid go for a swimming lesson, and there I faced some issues related to finances that was troubling my business. And suddenly it feels like, what is the cost of missing a business client because you have to spend time with family? Was one question. Or the other way around, what is the cost of not spending time with loved ones because you have to meet a client?
Mhm.
And then comes the second story where I was talking to my friend, and he mentioned there are people who they definitely make time for birthdays or picking up their children from school, but that also means that they have to say no to some business, or more frequently they say yes to a lot of business because they're building it, but that means that they're missing out in their family time. Their children grow up, and some of the memories are lost. But between these two, this particular gentleman, he mentioned that I'm constantly doing it this or that, but nothing for me. I'm building the business or I'm taking care of family, but that holiday was not for me, or it's not that I was trying to go to the gym for this or something of that kind. And that made us think more, and we started talking to more and more people. And the general consensus is there is no use becoming a millionaire in your 70s when you cannot enjoy it or when you cannot travel much. Also, there is no point living on the beach in a trailer but not earning money next month, or your business is not going anywhere. You're having a great time, but it's not going anywhere. So there has to be a balance between the business, the founder, and life. Those are the three aspects of the triangle of the prism. Okay. So the three aspects, that the wealth trifecta. you grow your business, you grow yourself, the founder, and you grow your life. And if I may share the screen once, I'll tell you
Please.
why it's called a prism. By the way, why not? I could have called it the money mental triangle or trifecta or something like that or whatever, right? Why prism? I feel that running a business changes us. We actually come to know more about how we are when we run a business.
Mm,
Taking care of family, you learn a lot about yourself when you take care of your family. And when you can really take care of yourself when you learn about yourself. So when light passes through a prism, any kind of glass or triangular thing, it splits into rainbow. So when you are doing this, you are actually growing, you are becoming more colorful, you are spreading your wings, you are spreading your talents, you are becoming way more than that one thing. What people know someone as, let's say, a martial arts teacher, or someone is an accountant, or
mm,
someone is a plumber, or someone. But when they really are communicating through these kind of borders, the customer knows, yeah, I know he's a plumber, but he's my local DJ, and he also has two kids, and we meet in the park when he walks the dog. He's a dog lover. And these are the aspects that we tend to forget when we are constantly focused on the business. Being a plumber doesn't mean you just be a plumber. Being human itself has so many aspects. So when you are crossing these limits, the prism actually helps you split. And the second part,
mm.
let me see where is the setting. There we are. Let's see if I can do something here. This one. Can you tell me when you can see my screen? Did something show up?
I'm seeing your screen.
Yeah. So here, what I felt is you need three things to make something stand on its own. Not four, three. If it is two, it doesn't stand on its own.
Mm,
And you see how I have flipped the prism. That means we can create by taking care of business founder and life, and we start building every layer. And if one thing goes wrong, the other two are giving stability.
mm,
Imagine this was standing on the wider face on with a with the edge on top, then you cannot balance much in life. I know it sounds very philosophical, it sounds something else, but in life constantly we are balancing between work and family, work and us and family, and so forth. But what are the ways we could start looking? Business KPIs, well-being KPIs. This is where ample therapy comes in, because you look at artistic, mental, physical, life, and education. And that means it has to be looked together. And as we start building that, I call it the prism can stand differently. You look at leverageable wealth, it's the actual cash in bank. Intrinsic wealth, the founder, is inner wealth. If things are not right inside, there are people who, with, I mean, huge respect and sadness, sometimes millionaires also are on the verge of committing suicide and beyond, even if they have cash, even if they have leverageable wealth, if their intrinsic wealth has not been taken care of. And experiential wealth, life. I mean, again, there is no point having maybe a couple of millions and in your case billions, Coach Kanji.
Well, no, it's interesting because look, in listening to you attentively for the last 10 minutes, look, where did I come from? I came just from the gym,
Mhm,
and when I was going to the gym, I was speaking to the taxi man, and he was asking me, "Why do you go to such a gym which is so far away?" And then when I
mhm,
told him which gym I'm going to, he's like, "Oh, it's a very expensive gym." And it's like, "Well, why would
mhm,
you spend so much money on like a gym?" And I was just trying to explain to him, like, whether you look at it financially
Mm-hmm.
or emotionally or even physiologically, I can break down the benefit. It's all about how you frame it to yourself, right? So I done the mathematics for him first and showed him,
Mm-hmm.
okay, yes, it seems like a large sum, but if you're utilizing it every time you go, it can be the equivalent of £2.50. And you're using this
Exactly.
amazing bar and getting all the facilities, etc., etc. It's how you prioritize it.
Yeah.
And even if you only to go a few times a week, it'd still be £5 or £10 or whatever. But do you not spend that elsewhere? Are there not other
Yeah.
things that you spend which are more um, uh, negative or not as constructive, right? And then the element of play as well, like you
Yeah.
say,
Yeah.
whether spending time
Enjoying
with
it.
family or giving time to yourself, do you fulfill that criteria of that flow state for yourself? Because to
Yeah.
then operate in other aspects of your life with full presence, I feel that you need these elements to be able to give with a full cup.
And speaking of the financial part of it, like you mentioned, it goes to couple of quid a day or something of that kind. And there is a very common example I keep on repeating. I ask people, "What's the most expensive car?" And I don't know if I have shared this with you before.
Mm,
And many times people talk about Mercedes, Lamborghini, Porsche, blah blah blah, and so forth, Tesla, and so forth, right? In real life, especially when you're running a business, but in general, the most expensive car is the one you are not using. It's just sat there doing nothing. You are paying the taxes, you have to maintain it, you are actually spending money on it, but it's not doing it. Even if it is a 500-pound car, but if you're not using it, it's an expensive thing to have. But if you're using it, and I have a friend who has a fleet of Lamborghinis that he rents out to weddings.
okay.
And even if he is spending 200 grand on a car, that car is earning back like anything.
Hmm,
So when you look at that cost, £2 a day, if you're not doing anything with it, it's a big cost, it's a waste, and you would have wasted it anyway on something else, like you mentioned, a negative or unhelpful way. Instead, if you went to the gym, you took care of that, and something happened that built something inside you, that revived something, that refreshed you, and that's way more return on investment if you're looking at the big picture.
indeed.
And what people forget is all three are important. All three. There is no point sitting on the beach without money. There is no point having money but not being able to enjoy it. And there is no point having both but no one to share.
Mm.
Um, I have seen so many people who go on holidays just by themselves, unfortunately. But when you share those moments with people, others, loved ones, that makes life more fulfilled.
Well, this is it again. I was listening to a talk from Dr. Gabor Mate just the, and connection and play. These elements.
Hmm.
Some of the first things as a human we gravitate towards, but yet when we become adults, we seemingly
Hmm.
forget. Um, and so, yeah, just to incorporate that as much as you can in your life, because then it will feel like the monetary pursuit is worthwhile because it's to create more moments of
Yeah.
connection and, as we described, opportunities to have freedom to play. And
And
that's how
people
long a
who
piece of string
share,
is for you because it's all based upon, again, how much you take on.
yeah,
Oh, yeah,
yeah.
sorry.
Yeah, people who share the fact that money is not important, I disagree with them vehemently. Uh, it's like uh, there is this very old story where there was someone from the east. I can't remember whether it was Middle East or something, a spiritual person, and he was giving a speech in the US in some university, and they said, why are you taking money? Don't you think money doesn't matter in this case, and so forth? You are a spiritual person, you should not be doing any money, or you are a person who is helping someone else. And the speaker paused for a couple of seconds and said, you cannot quench someone's thirst with an empty glass. The glass has to have some water in it, and then you can give it to someone else. You need to have that money. Even for hospitals, you need money. Even for education, you need money. And definitely, if you're a small business owner, you need money. It's not the only thing, but it matters for that purpose. Even to help others, you can help more
And I think
if you have it.
I, I was just going to say, Jeev, I think it's about capacities and knowing oneself as well. Um, sometimes, we can drive ourselves in a way that, we are then burnt out in the pursuit of competing, to
Yeah,
create industry. It's always got to be done without ego and with knowing, one's own purpose in some degree, because otherwise one can often do it for the wrong reasons of validation or something other, right? Proving something. Whereas
yeah.
if one organically, it's like training, right? I know how much I can handle in the gym, and I incrementally
Hmm.
increase each time I go. We talked about this before, building blocks, right? So in the same way,
Yeah,
monetary
yeah.
one, as you try to expand your portfolio, your acquisitions, your responsibility, your speculating to accumulate all these different elements of business, right? Taking on staff, everything other. It's just to know to not overstretch oneself, but take the process organically, whereby one is always growing, but at the pace whereby you can handle it so that you're not compromising all the other aspects of your life, like we just discussed, but
Mm,
you can seemingly feel you have purpose and at the same time affordability to enjoy all the other aspects and still, like you say, grow within business, because it does make a difference having money, because and we say, like, in our culture and faith, when we were young, we were taught that it's a responsibility and amana, right? And they say in Arabic, because
mhm.
like the idea that when I'm given money, I have now more opportunity to do service to the world. I can hoard it for myself and for luxury,
Mm,
or I can provide more service. And so in that pursuit, there's nothing wrong, right? Because one can achieve so much in terms of aiding the rest of mankind, whether it's education
definitely.
like you do or anything other. So yeah,
In fact, the other name for money is currency. It has to keep moving.
I like that.
Currency. It comes from the word current. There is a flow to it, and if you hoard it, if you stop it, then it has damaging effect. Money has the best effect when it keeps moving.
Hmm. That's very interesting, actually. I can see that observationally as well. Um, sometimes, arguably, when one spends money,
Hmm.
it's interesting because I believe we're energetic beings in a physical manner, right? So sometimes I believe the energy has more power than anything other, and so when you almost feel like money will return to you,
Hmm.
and you spend in a way that is almost like, I would argue, growing the economy, if you like,
Hmm. Yeah,
right? Um, it seemingly returns, I find,
yeah.
um,
No, it does return. In fact, for me, and for many of my other so-called experiments, it definitely returns. In fact, it's everything in. There is a saying, everything in nature. I'm not even going spiritual right now. Literally on nature, everything goes towards balance. You lift something, it goes towards back, and gravity pulls it back. You heat something, then there is cold coming. You light something, there is darkness, etc., and it comes back to balance. uh,
hmm,
and to have that balance, things have to move,
Yeah.
and that is where you give something, it comes back to you. In fact, it comes back multiplied depending on how many people you're benefiting. You will
Mm,
see, it happens with emotions, it happens with money, it happens with resources, and of course sometimes there might be a delay, which is where we um, become impatient.
mm.
But it always comes back multiplied.
And that's why there's a lot of time where I work with clients where they have a fear mindset around wealth and acquiring wealth.
Mm.
Um, and so again, it's interesting because from both sides of the spectrum, um, some feel limited that they can't achieve wealth. They just
Hmm.
within themselves, almost like there's a blockage,
Hmm.
that I can't be wealthy. And
Hmm.
then vice versa, I have met clients who, even if they're really wealthy, they
Hmm.
can't part with a few pounds. It hurts them every time they have to part with money, right?
Yeah.
It's just interesting
So
observing the relationship and what anxiety both sides bring.
yeah, yeah. And because we talk about that in this show, I have a couple of examples to share, and maybe in the next session we can talk in detail about money blocks, because I've done some work on it with a number of people.
Mm,
Many times, depending on what happened as when we were children, the sense of safety and how money was involved with that got intertwined with our self-esteem and familiarity, and that is where our responses to money come. As an example, if in fact there are people who, if you give them, uh, they might be looking for, let's say, 5,000 pounds, but you give them 5,000 pounds, they can't believe it. They will like, why are you giving it to me? Because they have a feeling that I have to work hard or struggle to get that 5,000 pound. But you say, you just said you needed it, here it is. And that might also cause a mini heart attack there. The reason being, when they managed that, maybe money was used for emotional manipulation. Maybe money was used for a sense of safety, like if I paid money to someone, then thing will be fine. I know someone in person, they came from a nice family, but their bigger family always quarreled about money. And so one of his coping mechanism, if he gets some extra, like if whatever he needs he keeps, but whatever is extra he keeps on distributing.
mm,
Out of, like, in fact, if it is there, if not in distribution, he will start spending or investing, but he
mm,
cannot keep it. He says, I feel extremely scared. If I have an extra 10,000 lying in the account, I have to invest it, or I have to donate it, or I have to give it, or I have to do something with it. That's a different kind of fear.
interesting.
um, Expression about money. Someone who used to babysit, this I'm talking 25 years ago. um, she was mistakenly or wrongly accused of stealing money while babysitting. And when she grew up, her money messages, the relationship you have with money was very
Mm,
different. She was constantly trying to prove herself, prove her innocence from that incident in the past, because she was not a thief. So whenever there is extra money coming in or extra money going away, either way, out or in, she lost her sleep, which affected her body, which affected her health, and so forth. So the connection is with the sense of safety slash familiarity. Remember, in many of our discussions, we talked that sometimes people confuse familiarity with safety.
yeah.
This is why people stay in the place where they are hurting, but they still are there. They don't want to move out because that's the world they know. And you use the example, someone has a lot of money but they cannot part with a couple of quid, because it's not about the 2 pounds. It's about I earned this. I mean, there have been many messages that it depends on their childhood or their programming.
Yeah, no, most definitely, because as you say, like it's often like in those people I see like generational trauma having come from migrancy and poverty and different things like and so it's it's not alien, in my community. I see it a lot with wealthy individuals still. However, at the same time, like I say, I see also the flip side, where some people, having come from poverty, feel that they're not entitled to wealth,
Hmm.
and
They
thus,
don't deserve it.
yeah, exactly, exactly,
Yeah. Or
and
they
I
have
just
to go through pain to deserve it. Something like that. They have to earn it or something like that. A misconception about that side.
and it's definitely like you say, there's a comfort in the familiarity of telling oneself the same narrative and being in the same position. Though it's painful, it's a pain that they're familiar with and they understand. Whereas sometimes growth and change is much, much harder. Um,
And this
so,
is where,
yeah,
Mhm.
no, please, yeah, please.
Yeah, so this is where if we balance all three, then our self-esteem, our experience, and our monetary side will be there. But we'll also understand that just existing, we can take things that are due to us as easily as a bird catches its food, right? So we all deserve that. It has nothing to do with self-esteem, and it needs some time to balance those things. So coming back to the triangle slash prism, it's very important to balance where we are going. Is our in fact, remember Matthew McConaughey said this. I mean, you can climb the ladder, but is your ladder against the right wall? Which wall are you
Mm,
climbing?
mm.
Right. So you could keep climbing, and you might reach the top, and you say, "Oh, this was not the life I wanted."
And this is an interesting point I was going to make, in closing that it's interesting that many people talk of like when they get to the top, they
Hmm.
still hadn't found happiness, right? Whatever that top may be, whatever that destination might have been, whether it's yearning for a certain success or position or financial position, a status. And interestingly, I've been in that position myself where I was working towards something so hard, but I wasn't necessarily paying attention to any part of the journey
Right.
because I'm just working in my mind against a narrative. I'm just more battling this narrative in my head and just in autopilot of action based on that fuel of validation within myself.
Yeah.
Um, Trying to quieten the negative speak, a negative talk, almost through
The
fueled
critical
anger
talk.
and but channeling in productivity. But the interesting thing, not having any appreciation of the journey I'm taking, and then 10 years passing you by and you're looking back and going, oh yeah, it was great, I did those things, but I wasn't really present for a lot of that period. And
Hmm.
now it just feels like a memory on a CV of somebody other, like because I just wasn't there. Um, so it's interesting. Whereas when you actually take time to be present and enjoy the process wherever you are on the ladder,
Yeah.
and like you say, you have
Hmm.
time for family, friends, yourself, and everything other in between. It
And
just
what
makes
if you saw all
it
three
so
every day?
beautiful. Well, this is it, yeah. And if you're able to achieve that every day, then
Yeah.
I feel that balance, as we used in our conversation, is the optimum word. Because again, a life without any of those components would feel somewhat empty. And it's the kind of intertwining of those components which makes each thing more powerful, right?
Yeah.
If you have connection and you can provide and protect and give to those people that you have connection with, That's amazing, right? If you have the financial freedom to enable yourself time to play and have peace and freedom from
Yeah.
obligation, like it's again, it's a blessing, right? And it spins around as we discussed,
The
in around.
concept of the concept of doing all three together was not just I'm conscious of time and I'll end with this bit. The concept of doing all three every day did not just come from the fact that sometimes people reach a level and say, oh, I miss those things in life. More importantly, there are things in life which cannot be reversed. And I was talking with a number of people who come for to developed countries to work. They leave their family in a country, then they come to work, and they go back after earning money for 10 years. But when they go back, they when they left the family, their child was a baby, and when they're going back, the child is grown up, and it's not reversible. The memories are not reversible. So there are things which are reversible, there are things which are not reversible in life, and
That's
this
another
is
big debate. That's another big debate, G, because yeah, you started me just at the end of our show. Teaser for next time. Because like my brother lives
yes,
in Dubai, right? And we discuss this
right.
all the time. The people who come to work there, are
Hmm.
they just, bettering themselves in their lives, or are
Hmm.
they missing a trick? Are they missing an understanding of something? Is this just the way the global economy works? Or, as you mentioned there, will people regret it in the pursuit of thinking there is a bigger gold pot over there? They then have to forego something of what you mentioned within the prism.
In fact, I'll give some real examples next time. So let's keep
Okay.
that hanging. And that's a good point to close. But thanks for listening about the three aspects. And this is where I named it monumental. And in fact, on that topic, someone has started a couple of businesses where they help such people not to leave their own country but still earn, and they're doing these experiments and asking them which one would you prefer, and we'll find out answers next time.
Interesting. I just realized money mental is also monumental.
Exactly. Yeah, that is what it's extremely important. Thanks for noticing that. Well done. So, thank you everyone for your time, and see you again next time. Keep the questions coming, keep the comments coming, and let's run businesses without anxiety and keep growing in all three aspects. Coach Kanji, like every time, thank you so much.